Coming at you live from all over Ohio. A Cleveland Browns podcast full of laughs, rants, fun, and stats. A place where all Browns fans' voices are welcome and heard. A show that aims to inform and entertain you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Barking Browns Show.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into episode 102 of the Barking Browns Show, where we are just motoring right down through it. I'm Jacob. That's Nick on the other side over there. We are brought to you, as always, by our friends over at Homage Apparel. I got the classic Cleveland Brown Brownie the Elf shirt on. Nick, don't worry about what he's got going on over there. Check out our friends over at Homage to get you guys set up with the Browns, celebrate the draft. They got a really cool Cleveland Browns Stadium shirt going on from where the First Energy name has been dropped, and it's back over to Cleveland Browns Stadium. If you want to celebrate that, go grab one of those shirts. They got some awesome Guardian stuff, some Buckeye stuff, some Cavs stuff, even though it was a disappointing end, but we all understand if you want to check that out. Nick, how are we doing on this fine Tuesday?
Hi. You know what? So from our intro, I'm really thankful for our intro because it says coming at you live from all over Ohio.
Yeah.
So I currently come to you from Cincinnati, Ohio, and I'd like to report it because I was really curious with the way the Bengals have been good, right?
Okay.
And so obviously they've got a ton of support and they've got great fans. I'm not saying they don't, but coming to Cincinnati, driving from Cleveland to Cincinnati down here, I was really curious to see, because, okay, so full disclosure, on Thursday, I was out in one of the southern suburbs of Cleveland, and there was Browns gear everywhere. Avita can confirm. It was awesome. It was like the draft just happened. Browns gear is everywhere. You know what's in the air. But so coming to Cincinnati, I was really curious. I was like, all right, obviously the Bengals have been great for the past couple of years with Joe Burrow. And I was wondering how much Bengals gear I'd see. And so I did see a couple. But in Cleveland, I feel like every car you see, they have Browns license plates, Browns stickers. Every person you see, not every person, obviously. But there are a lot of people that have Browns gear. Everywhere you go, I'll say, you see some type of Browns gear. It hasn't been that way in Cincinnati. And honestly, I'm surprised because they've been great. Joe Burrow is working himself on an extension, and I've seen some, so respect to them. But if Cleveland was good like Cincinnati was, there would be Browns gear everywhere you looked. Everywhere.
Well, they don't even need to be good for that.
I'm just saying. It's true.
So guys, we got Drew checking in over in the comments. What's going on, Drew? Mix over there as well as Mitch. What's going on, guys, over there? We appreciate you guys. We appreciate everybody that has done all the amazing things that you did for us over the weekend.
Thank you.
We live streamed. What's up?
We got Mitch Metz coming in here with $20.
Hey,
Mitch.
We appreciate you, man. We really
appreciate you, Mitch. We love you. You win all the things. You're lucky as I've ever known. Congratulations to you, by the way. But thank you, Mitch.
We appreciate it. We did live stream first, day 2, the second and third rounds of the draft on Friday. We did day 3 with rounds 4 through 7 on Saturday. I did duck out a little bit. I had been writing all night long the night before, and I wrote during our live streams on Saturday.
You're a machine. Is what you're.
I was just trying to get out what we had to get out, but we had over 1,000 views between the 2 days here on YouTube, so we're incredibly blessed, and we're very thankful for you guys. So we're going to talk about the draft tonight. Just a few housewarming things before we get into it. Film rooms start this weekend, Friday, for members. So we have new memberships to the channel. You can subscribe to the channel and then join a membership program. We will give you 24-hour early access to videos such as my film rooms for all the prospects. Cedric Tillman will drop for members on Friday. We'll drop for everybody else on Saturday morning. You get some cool emoticons and things, priority response to all your comments. And there's one other thing. What's the other thing? You get early access. You get the badges, the emoticons, priority comments. I think that's shout outs. We shout people out. Shout people out here on the channel to get little cool badges. So we appreciate you guys. If you want to check that out, down by the subscribe button on YouTube, you'll see a little join tab. It's $2.99 a month. And we would greatly appreciate all the support that we've already gotten and all we will get going forward. So, Nick, we were live with the channel for Cedric Tillman, for Ika, for some other things. I was way too emotional and I was tired and I was screaming and yelling for a lot of the picks and a lot of things that was going on. So we had some time to clear our head and clear the emotions and kind of come back at it. So before we get into anything overall, we'll start with Cedric Tillman, but before we get into anything specific, how do you feel about the draft class overall?
I'm a happy camper. I feel like the Browns were able to address a lot of their holes, a lot of their deficiencies, without a first or second round pick. So I think, to me, the most valuable thing that stuck out to me was the fact that Andrew Berry was able to keep his pick despite swapping it down to get Elijah Moore. Every one of those picks, especially in the third round, was impactful. And I was really thankful, because if you would have told me that the Browns swapped second round pick for Elijah Moore, I mean, that would have hurt. I would have been like, that seems like a lot to give up, but I would have accepted it because he's Elijah Moore. And the fact that you were able to just move down 32 spots and you were able to keep that pick. And then on top of that, so you move down to get Elijah Moore. And then on top of that, you use that pick to get Cedric Tillman, effectively getting 2 wide receivers for 1 draft pick, which is an insane value to me. I think I want to start right there, Jacob, because when you think about that, when you think about the fact that Andrew Berry was able to turn moving down 32 spots into Elijah Moore and Cedric Tillman, I'm a homer. I admit that. I'm biased, but that seems like an insane value to me.
Yeah. I think that my overall thought on this draft, I give it like a B+, B+. And the thing is, I don't think you can bust into the A without a first or a second, just because I don't know. Because a first and a second, especially a first round pick, you can somewhat expect them to be somewhat of an impact player year one because they're a first round product. So they're a much more polished product. And we'll get into that as we get into these players, that a lot of these players, they just need some coaching and some development and some guidance, so to speak, what they need to be and where they need to go from here. And I think a lot of them will get that here in Cleveland, and we'll get into some of that stuff, especially on the defensive side of the football. But I just think this was a best player available draft. That if you want to know what it looks like when an organization tries to optimize draft position and talent that is there, that is what this was. Because best player available is incredibly subjective. Because what I think is best player available and what you think is best player available and what the Browns think is best player available are all different things. We know that. But this is a situation, you see it with like the Luke Whippler pick. I really thought a very late day 3 pick could be used on a center. I was right. I was wrong about the center because it was a guy that a lot of people thought would go a lot earlier. He ends up falling. I'm still trying to find out why people think he fell to 190. I haven't been able to get to that yet.
Surprising.
I'll continue to try to, I'm going to continue to try to get through that. I just haven't got there quite yet, but I'm going to try to figure that out. But I think that you had limited assets in the sense that you didn't have a round 1 or round 2 pick. You still had 8 picks. You ended up making 7 of them. And I think you took a really nice blend of need/talent. And you said, listen, we may not need DeShawn Jones this year. We may not need Luke Whippler this year. We may not need Cam Mitchell this year. We may not need DTR this year. But we think they are good, talented players when we will need them. Yeah. Let's put them on the roster and let's reload for things when we go down the road. So that's where I'm at with the overall draft class. I'm going to get to some comments. We got some awesome comments going over here.
We got a lot of people in here
on the YouTubes. And then we're going to jump into some individual players and we're going to work our way through the draft the best way that we know how.
I'd like to give you, when we're done with the comments, I'd like to give you a grade.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry. I was like, you're grading me. What did I do? What did I shoot on Sunday? I shot
on the golf course. Jacob Roach.
I shot a 73, which was like plus 25. I think it was I that might be generous, but I did shoot a 73. Like everybody, like my dad shot like a 66, my buddy shot a 66, and my brother-in-law shot in the 50s. If that tells you the level of competition we were going up against. So I wasn't like too far behind. We got Eddie checking in. What's up, Eddie? You're doing good, my friend. Mick says, as far as the draft, I'm happy camper. We didn't get a running back. That means we'll see more of Jerome Ford. I do believe that is the case, and we will probably get into some of that as we work through it. He highlights what you said, that the draft includes Watson and Moore. And they in the social media team tweeted that out as much.
Yeah. That was nice to see, honestly.
Yeah. Russell says he's happy with Tillman. I am too. We're about to dive into that.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Mick says that Tillman doesn't move the needle for him. He struggles versus press man. I don't actually believe he fully does. He does from time to time, but I don't think it's as big of an issue. We're going to get there. We'll get to there. Third, two down. Yeah, we'll get to that one. I'm trying to see if there's anything else. I'm talking about Chase Young. I don't think anything will happen with Chase Young unless he becomes a free agent next offseason. First round pick is not until 2025. That's correct.
And we will get there.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we're good.
I just want to say before we move into the individual picks, I'm pretty happy with the Browns, and I'm going to give them a B. I would have liked to see a linebacker, especially somebody that is a long-term option, because you've got a lot of guys on, whether it's Anthony Walker on a one-year deal, Jacob Phillips on the final year of his deal, if I'm not mistaken, Jordan Kuzanik. I apologize if I mispronounced that, but he's also on a one-year deal. You've got a lot of guys, Sione Takitaki as well. Tons of one-year deals in that linebacker room. So that considered, I think I would have really liked to see them at least take a shot on a guy. And maybe he wasn't there for them, and I can understand that. But just given the state of the linebacker room, I would have liked to see them have one guy under a long-term rookie deal aside from JOK. But that, and I think Hassan Hall in undrafted free agency made me feel better about the running back room, because they did not take a running back. And so before we jump in, I just want to say shout out to our friends on the Dog Chug tomorrow, Wednesday, 10 p.m. None other than Mr. Jacob Roach.
I'm on the other side.
What?
Yeah, I know. It just kind of happened, and we never do it this way, but it is what it is.
It is, honestly. Mr. Jacob Roach will be on the Dog Chug tomorrow at 10 p.m. drinking coffee with mayo in it, Will Levis style, because the Browns did not draft a running back. He made that bet. He will be on the Dog Chug tomorrow. So if you want to see a show, I know I'll be there watching Jacob drink mayo in his coffee.
Yeah, like it was some stupid shit or whatever, but we'll get in that. Anyway, we got some comments about the DT pick, the quarterback wasted pick, those sort of things, and some opinions on that
DTR.
I understand. We'll get to DTR when we get to DTR, but I understand the feeling with some people that believe it's a wasted pick. I'll tell you why I'm cool with it, but I also believe that. So let's get into it, man. Let's start rolling down through it. And we're going to start with Cedric Tillman, man. Look at this. I've upgraded to this world of where we have graphics and stuff. And
look at us go.
Photos, and here he is just climbing the ladder. Now, listen, like Cedric Tillman, I will think this is – so I'll even talk about it. So I was a little disappointed in this pick at the time. You can go back – excuse me. You can go back and look at the live stream in which I was like, I would have preferred a guy like Josh Downs, just because I personally was looking for the explosive dynamic playmakers, and that's just not what Tillman is. And he's not slow. He's a 4.54. So like he's not a 4.6, 4.7, anything like that. He can actually move more so than people think. But listen, this dude's explosive. You see it on this picture right here. This dude can climb the ladder. For members of the channel, the film room for Cedric Tillman will be out on Friday morning. For everybody else, it'll be public for everybody else who's not members of this channel, but just subs and that sort of thing on Saturday. The explosive numbers are through the roof. This dude can climb the ladder and go and get the football, and in such just a really, really fun way. He's a contested catch kind of player, reliable hands. He's not going to drop many passes. If it hits him in the hands, he's going to catch the ball. And what I love about Cedric Tillman, when you talk about it, you're like, well, this is just a big body physical receiver. He is. He absolutely is a big body physical receiver. But Cedric Tillman can do some stuff after the catch. And I think there's some conversation about him, struggling against man coverage, press man coverage. It does happen from time to time that his release off the line is a little bit mucky when it comes to that, and that he does have to fight through some things. And sometimes he's a little slow to get off the ball as a result. But this dude has a relentless motor, and he has long speed for days. Like, he is not going to blow past you like Elijah Moore is, or like Zay Flowers, for example, that Baltimore got. He's not going to do that because he's a 4.5 guy, not a 4.3 guy. But if he can go straight or at an angle, whatever, and build up his speed, he is a smooth accelerator. I think he's a smooth route runner. People say, well, he's got all these contentious catches. Does he create separation? He does. He has the ability to plant and go. I really love that. That is the best part of Tillman's game. If he is going to change direction, if he's going to like step in real quick, like he's going to go into go inside, plant his foot, and he goes to the outside, that's where he creates his most separation, is changing direction like that, right? So you're like, okay, this guy's gonna he's gonna go inside, he's gonna create separation. I don't think he's an elite separator. That's what you're gonna get with a guy that's more of a size, strength, and tools guy. But I really like what Cedric Tillman does in terms of reliability. You are not going to be able to bring him down with an arm tackle, and that is where he will really get you in the open field. He can catch the ball, plant, go a different direction, accelerate, and run through arm tackles. His ability after the catch, I think Tillman has 500 yards this year. Like, I think he is an impactful rookie, because having gone through all of this stuff, it's like he is something that he's going to be a number 2 in this offense. Not this year, because I think he's still like your 4th or 5th wide receiver this year, and maybe gets 400 or 500 yards, makes a few plays, that sort of thing. But he's a long-term number 2, a guy I like a lot, Connor Rogers. He had him as his number 3 wide receiver in this entire class. I'm sorry, number 4 wide receiver in this entire class. I really like what Tillman does. Here's the thing about the 2022. He broke his ankle in 2022, this past year. He only plays in 6 games. He breaks his ankle, comes back, doesn't look the same. I don't like a lot of what I saw when he came back. He seemed kind of skittish, a little bit slow. He wasn't making the cuts that I had seen in his tape from the year before. I think it was the injury thing, so I'm not concerned about that. But he's a guy that can get you like 400 or 500 yards as a rookie in an offense. If this offense throws for over 4,500 yards, and I think they will throw for 4,500 yards with Deshaun Watson, and that stuff is going to go around. I just think that he is a really good player. Listen, 2 biggest games in 21. 21's where you really look and you see is the most production, and he's healthy. There's nothing there. In 2021 against Georgia, that Georgia defense, that really, really good Georgia defense, he takes it to Georgia. I'm going to pull this up over here on the side here. He takes it to Georgia with 200 yards on 10 catches. 200 yards on 10 catches against not this year's Georgia defense, the even better one from 2021. He goes for 200 yards. Against Alabama, he goes for 7 catches, 152 yards, and a touchdown. So you're looking at those 2 biggest games against the best teams. Tillman was that dude. If Tillman doesn't get hurt in 21, what if Tillman goes out and went into the draft last year? I think he's a borderline first-round player. Honestly, because of the year he had in 21. That's how good I think 21 was.
In a year of a lot of first-round wide receivers.
Right. Well, you know what? He might have actually fallen a little bit because of last year was such a good class. He might not have gone higher. that's a good point because there were so many good players. But he might have still been in this range, but you would be thinking of him differently than you are right now. Now, does it worry me that there's only 1 year of real college production? Yeah, there's some concerns there. But when you watch him and you look at the tools and what he has to work with, you can see that he has what it takes to be a good player. And he's done it in the biggest moments.
When I look at Cedric Tillman, my favorite stat is that he won 72% of his contested catches. I think that's what you're drafting him for. You need that body type. And up until recently, I think we were all under the impression that the Browns were going to extend Donovan Peoples-Jones. And they still may. But it's hard to ignore the fact that Cedric Tillman and Donovan Peoples-Jones are similar in body type and play style. So we'll get there. We'll get there. Let's cross that bridge when we come to it. But as far as Cedric Tillman goes, I believe I've read that he has in the 80th percentile of hand size and in the 70th percentile of arm length. And that
huge catch radius.
Yeah. So that just leads you to the guy has a incredible wingspan, and when he gets his hands on the ball, he's most likely going to come down with it. I think that's a really important type of player to have in your offense, especially when Deshaun Watson is known for his accuracy and being able to throw balls up there where his wide receivers can get it. I think Tillman makes a ton of sense for that type of quarterback. And honestly, when I watched Tillman, because 100%, I watched some of Tennessee's games, but Jalen Hyatt was the guy that really stole the show in 2022, right? Tillman was the 1A to his, 1B to his 1A. He was the wide receiver 1 in 2021 before he got injured. But the one thing that is really important about Tillman is the fact that he was one of the few players in this draft with his body type, a guy who's 6'3", a guy who's over 200 pounds, a guy who is physical. But the thing that stands out to me is when you look at the Browns offense, you've got Nick Chubb, who's quiet. You've got Deshaun Watson, who is more known as quiet. He even admitted in a recent interview that he was a quiet personality type. Amari Cooper's also quiet. But when you watch Cedric Tillman and you watch Elijah Moore, both of those guys are very in your face. I don't want to use the word like braggadocious, but just fierce competitors, guys that,
sure.
Yes. And I really think you needed that type of personality on your offense. So between Elijah Moore and Cedric Tillman, I feel like you have a little bit mean, a little bit edge, a little bit of guys that are true, that they're going to get in your face. And I think the Browns offense needed that. And so I'm really excited about this pick.
I'm going to go over here and get some comments here. Playing 24 career games with 12 and 21. The thing is, he really only was a starter for the last 2 years. I'm not really concerned about injuries in the sense that the injury he had this year was a broken ankle. So it's not something that should linger. I don't think you have to worry about like residual effects from his ankle being broken. Like it's not like he's had multiple ACL surgeries where there can be some lingering effects. So I don't really look at that as much. Tillman does know how to block out, that's the great. Yeah. He uses that frame, that size, and that it reminds me. It's funny because I've said this about a couple of other guys. It reminds me about one of the aspects I liked about Mike Woods was he would shield the ball from the defender when he'd go up to catch it. Tillman does that at a higher rate. Yeah, that's funny. He breaks his ankle and had the surgery. He still played that last year. Yeah. The time that he played was after he had broken his ankle. He came back. It wasn't like he played 6 games, broke his ankle, and that was it. He played after breaking his ankle.
That's which crazy is to me because I've broken both ankles playing football as well. Those ligaments are never the same. And the fact that he was able to come back in the same year is a real tribute to him.
What's up, Josh? Josh's hanging in there.
Hey, Josh.
How you doing, my friend? I'm looking for a comment. I do think that this offense can be really fun with Elijah Moore and Watson if they can all get on the same page. And I think they can. A stiff. He says. Nick says that Tillman's a stiff arm and yak guy. Yes, he definitely is. Larry points out that Georgia defense he went for 200 yards against might have been one of the best college defenses maybe ever, or the best, and it certainly was. It certainly was up there. In terms of,
which I think is a big part of why you'd be so excited about Tillman being here. It's another Andrew Berry pick that, for various reasons, some of the guys he's picked have had limited production in their final year, but they've been productive previously. And so it fits so well into Andrew Berry when you think about his body of work.
Yeah. All right, so we're moving on. We're gonna move on to the pick that made me curse in a negative way, and that's the Ikaika from Baylor. I'm just not there on Ika, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you what Ika does. He does eat space. If you go back and look at Ika's 21, here's the difference between looking at Ika's 21 versus looking at Tillman's 21. Tillman's 22 was affected by an injury that never fully healed. Ika didn't have an injury this year and yet regressed. He just went out there. He didn't look very good. I have questions about I got some questions about his work ethic, his motivation, some stuff like that. Stuff that he can all go and easily shut us up about a couple of games into the year and show up and in tremendous shape. He's fluctuated from time to time in weight. His film in 22 was awful. It was terrible this past year. I get what they're doing. If you're trying to tell me, hey, they're going to get a bunch of beef up front, they're going to stop the run, Ika can help you do that. But I watched, he reminds me of Billings when Billings came back after COVID, and Billings was this big, massive player that just got pushed around a lot. That's what I see with Ika. And the thing is, PFF has him with like 6 sacks. He had 4.5 sacks the year before last. He had none last year. Like, he only had like 2 tackles for a loss this year. And it was just like, what was he doing? What happened? And if you can explain it in a way that can be fixed, which us on the outside will not know that, then I'm okay with it. But like, I'm concerned. I'm concerned when I got a guy the size of Ika being pushed around at times. I don't know, like, what's your reasoning behind it? Like, what's going on here? What is the struggles? Is it the system? Is it the scheme? Like, what's going on? Is it were you not put in a position to succeed? Because we see that stuff. We see that stuff. He doesn't seem to know what he's doing with his hands and how to play with leverage. He plays too high. He doesn't have a really good pass rush plan. And but the thing is, he gets off the line of scrimmage slow, but like, he's an athlete for the size that he's at. You go and watch his tape, it shows up on tape, but then he tests as one of the most unathletic players we've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I'm going to trust the tape more than I'm going to trust the testing, but it's just, I want to know why he was a really good player and then he was just not good this year.
That's
and
fair.
Like, he wasn't very good. He is a gap eater. Jim Schwartz is stoked about him, and I like Jim Schwartz a lot, so I will put some trust in him. But I didn't like the pick. I thought there was better players at the position. I thought you could have if you're saying I want a run stuffing nose tackle, you didn't have to use pick 98 to get that. You could have done that in the 140s. And because of that, I don't see Ika as a 3-down player. His conditioning, like, is he only going to play 25 to 30 snaps? Like, I don't know where it is. But overall, I'm out on the Ika pick. I hope he proves me wrong, but I don't like it.
I'm going to kind of take the route you did. When Jim Schwartz picks a guy, I find it really difficult to argue against his resume. He's had productive defenses wherever he's gone. We saw the video reaction of Schwartz when they did take Ika. And so that, to me, definitely has me feeling more confident because of all the coaches Cleveland has, Schwartz is one of the most proven. And so I just find it difficult to argue with that. And then additionally, you can't teach size. And the Browns were certainly lacking size on the defensive on the defensive line, and especially the defensive tackle position. So if Schwartz says this is a guy I can work with, this is some clay I can mold, I can help, then I'm going to roll with that, because obviously, what the Browns were doing at defensive tackle previously was not working.
I will say that I don't think getting Ika compared to what you had last year is going to make you worse. I will say that.
Yeah, and so that's kind of the biggest thing to me is because people were talking about how the Browns signed Dalvin Tomlinson, and that is a significant addition. But if he were to get injured or not be able to play for whatever reason, you don't have another guy that is that size or that body type. And I think with Ika, you have two guys who you think can stuff the run. And we saw how badly the Browns struggled in that aspect of the game against the run. The Atlanta game comes to mind. I don't want to be there again. So if Ika is Jim Schwartz's answer to the additional depth they need behind or with Tomlinson to stop the run, then fine. I'm gonna put my faith in it and I'm gonna trust it. But I understand why there's reasons for skepticism.
Yeah, and I've seen some things and I've seen there's some people that I really respect that do like this pick. And so I'm trying to be open-minded. I don't think like I said this on the stream, even after I calmed down a little bit, because I got a little bit worked up. I don't know why. I put so much time and work into the draft that when it happens, if it doesn't go, exactly your way, you get a little upset. Mm-hmm. I've come around a little bit on it. Again, I don't think that he's going to make the team worse or anything like that. I just think you had a better Adebawore from Northwestern was there. I think he's a better player. So I think you could have gotten him and been in a better situation than you are with Ika. But I will say, you're picking up a dude that's an absolute mountain of a human being. And if you can get his technique, if Schwartz can work his magic on him, he's got the strength. I mean, he's got the size and the strength, and he's got the physical tools. He has really short arms, which bothers me a little bit, but like, it is what it is. So I hope Schwartz can work his magic, because for me, I just don't see it. I just don't see it with Siaki Ika. I said that mostly through the entire draft process, that he just wasn't a guy on me. So the next pick is actually a guy I did some hooping and some hollering for, because he had no business being in the fourth round talent-wise. We'll get into why I think he was there, but we'll get into that talent-wise, and that's Ohio State's right tackle, DeShawn Jones, that the Browns were able to pick up at pick 111. This is a guy that a lot of people thought made a lot of sense for like Cincinnati at the end of the first round. If Cincinnati, because there were some rumors that Cincinnati might move on from La'el Collins after 1 year, because it was just such a disaster for him in Cincinnati last year, and DeShawn Jones made a ton of sense. This dude is enormous. He's 6'8", 375 pounds, and you are not going through him. If you think you're going to bull rush DeShawn Jones on the right side of the offensive line and get back to the quarterback, I got news for you. You might be able to beat him with athleticism, although he's a sneaky damn good athlete for that freaking size, man. He moves, like when you watch him move sometimes, like laterally, in the way that the things that he can do when he's right and when he's on and playing consistent good football, it's like, oh, why are you able to do that? Like, you are way too big to be able to do some of those things. And Drew kind of talked about it. There's some rumors that he's pushing 400 pounds. There is some things that happened at Ohio State that people question. How much does he love football? How committed is he? That sort of thing. But what I have heard is that people at Ohio State said he got better at those things. Like his motivation and his drive and his commitment got better over the 2 years he was there for 3 seasons, but over the couple of years that he was there at Ohio State, that those things did get better, which is good, because that's like, when you hear that sort of thing from this standpoint, you're just like, oh no, is this guy, are we going to get like, that's some people's complaint about Jed Wills, right? Like the commitment and the effort and that sort of things. And people are worried about it with DeShawn Jones, which makes sense. And if his weight, if he is fluctuating weight up near 400 pounds, that makes sense why he falls. But when you're taking a guy on day 3, you're willing to work for that. You're willing to accept those potential risks because you're looking at a guy that has first round upside that you picked in the 4th round and don't really have any commitment to him because he's a 4th round pick. You can cut him. You're not going to lose, you're not really going to lose anything. If next year, like, man, this guy just doesn't care. He's not motivated. He's always fluctuating in weight. Let's get him out of here. You're not out anything. But if he's your right tackle of the future, listen, the talent's there. The ball is in DeShawn Jones' court because he has all the upside in the world to be a massive steal. And the question is just going to be the off the field stuff. It's not about film. It's not about talent. He has all that shit. It's what's going on between the ears. And does he want to be committed? And if he does, it's a hell of a pick.
I think, again, you can't teach size. And this is not a guy that of this stature that you can typically draft where the Browns did. So I understand it completely from that perspective. And I think a lot of us have been complaining or just concerned, I should say, about the Jack Conklin injury history. And I think when he was extended, that did surprise some people. Now, I think when Conklin's healthy, he is a great right tackle. I don't think there's any question of that. But the fact is he's struggled with injuries for a few seasons now. And I don't think there's a largely long-term future beyond the next couple seasons with Jack Conklin. I would be surprised if that was the case. And I, I'm rooting for Jack Conklin. I hope he's successful and he's been good for the Browns. I'm just, I think looking at the long term of it, there had to be another answer. And especially on the other side of the line, when you're not sure, the Browns wait until basically the deadline with Cedric Wills. And I'm sure we can discuss that, Jacob. But the fact is that the Browns tackle situation is not as solidified as you'd like it to be. Right. So with a guy with DeShawn Jones upside makes so much sense, especially in the 4th round. And I think this is really the beginning of when, Dane Brugler, I think it was, said that the Browns got a ton of the top 100 prospects despite not having a 1st or 2nd round pick. I think this is the type of guy that has the upside to be a long-term answer and a guy that you say, how did the Browns pick him where they did?
Yeah. And I just, it's the off the field stuff. As long as he's committed to the game of football, that's the only thing we've got to worry about. And if he is, then there's nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
And there is some speculation that Bill Callahan didn't want him, but Andrew Berry did. So I don't know if there's some stuff out there, but again, it's a 4th round pick. It is what it is. Moving on to a guy I absolutely loved, and I cheered so hard for this because I wanted him at 74. That's Isaiah McGuire, man, the edge out of Mizzou. I love this kid. This kid has a great blend of speed and power to his game. He really needs to improve his pass rush plan in a sense of moves, like that sort of thing. Like you need to kind of. He just needs to learn some more moves, but he's got really nice hands, really heavy hands. I think some people think he's not as explosive as he needs to be. And while I do agree a little bit, his get off isn't probably where I want it to be. His overall speed and athleticism, he's really high on the relative athletic score. He can win with speed to power. He can switch back and forth. He has a really nice spin move. I really like when he employs that spin move, but he can also collapse a pocket with just a bull rush. Like you can see that sort of stuff. I think it's just such a blend with Isaiah McGuire that I think he's an impact player, not an impact player, a rotational player right away. I think he can get you 3 or 4 sacks. He can come in there and he can do, what Tack McKinley did a couple of years ago, get 3 or 4 sacks and kind of, you're like, oh, hey, we get you out there and we're
absolutely.
And you can make some kind of an impact off the bench and kind of take some pressure off these other guys, off of Myles Garrett from trying to be Superman all the time. But I just think he's got such a unique blend of both speed and power that I think when if he can put it all together consistently and work on his hand placement and technique, because he's got some heavy hands, man. He's got some heavy hands. It's just they're inconsistent. You're looking at a dude that had led his team in sacks the past 2 years. He was a pressure machine in college at Mizzou. He grades off the charts, which is things they like. I just really think that when you look at what he has physically, he can be that guy. I think he can be that guy.
That's the type of dude he has in the nines. I think it's above 9.5 of a relative athletic score. And that is absolutely what you love to see, especially later in the rounds when you're looking for upside. For me, I think we all saw what the pass rush was when Myles Garrett got in his car accident. And by that, I mean it was non-existent. Yeah. So the Browns need additions at defensive end, and I think you saw that with Obo Okoronkwo, and I think you're seeing it with McGuire as well. Alex Wright is a second-round pick going into his second year, so there's a lot of guys that Andrew Berry has added to this room to add to the pass rush aside from Myles Garrett. I think he knows how much it struggled, and kudos to him for working to address it. I think McGuire brings a ton of upside with him. A guy that you pick in the fifth round, correct?
Yeah. No, he was a second, fourth round pick.
Okay, second, fourth round pick. Sorry. A guy that you pick in the second, fourth round with that type of upside is really exciting. I'm not sure where he ends up as far as the Browns goes, but I am leaning towards about Jacobs' evaluation, where I think he's going to get a few sacks this year that we say, okay, I see why Andrew Berry picked him.
Some big, not necessarily in a big moment to win a game, but maybe something that you're like happens in the second quarter while Myles is getting a breather, and it forces him to settle for 3. And that's, things like that. You can see they can be in fact. One thing I wanted to point out too, is his motor, man. This dude is going to fight, scrap, and claw until that whistle blows, and then he's going to go even longer. He had his pass rush win rate last year was a 17.6% in the SEC. Like we're not talking, middle of the road kind of school, but we just talked a bunch about his pass rush, right?
Yeah.
This dude had nearly a 10% run stop rate as well. So Don't forget that this kid is a 3-down player in my mind. Not necessarily right now. He's got a lot of things to clean up, a lot of things to improve on, but you're looking at a dude that he's a better rusher than he is a run stopper, but don't think he can't play the run, because McGuire can really play the run. I just think that he fits what this team wants. A very athletic rusher that can win in multiple different ways once he works on his technique and his hands and puts it all together. And we talk about this all the time with Bill Callahan on the other side when we just talked about DeShawn Jones. Like, if anybody can figure out how to make DeShawn Jones this great player, it's Bill Callahan. Jim Schwartz knows a lot about defensive linemen. I think Jim Schwartz looked at this dude, said, look, he wins with speed, he wins with power, he still doesn't fully know what he is doing out there, and he's doing these things. He's going to need some time. That's why he was in the 4th round. That's how all of these day 3 guys are. All of these guys may not be ready to be starters, but I think they can be role players. I think that Isaiah McGuire, like I said, maybe he gets 3 sacks this year, some things like that. I really do think that he can be a role player that plays a nice, important role where somewhere down the line,
he's a contributor.
He's like battling with Okoronkwo for that second job, that kind of thing. And I think he can really do that. And if for some reason Myles needs to miss a game or Okoronkwo wants to miss a game, you put him out there and maybe if you gotta go from there.
If that's a guy that performs for you, that you picked as your second, 4th round pick, that's a home run every time.
Yeah.
So moving right along, is it DTR time?
Yeah, we're getting there. I'm just trying to. We got a lot of comments. I'm sorry if we can't get to all your comments.
Oh, you know what? I just want to say shout out to all of you. We've had a lot of people with us. We both noticed that, and we appreciate you. We can't wait for Brown season, and the fact that you're all here right now means a ton to us.
And I can't wait, guys. Guys, we're going to get even deeper into a lot of this stuff. And I'm going to start releasing the film rooms on this YouTube channel. Cedric Tillman's is coming this week. I'm really excited about that. I've worked through a couple of his games. I've clipped them up. I'm going to show you my two favorite of his games, which is the Georgia and Alabama tape from last year, where he really made some showings, because I think that's really where you can see when he's on, when he's playing well. I think those are the games that you see it in. Mm-hmm. So we're going to go to the 5th round. The first pick was Dorian Thompson-Robinson, the athletic quarterback from UCLA. Played a ton. 5-year starter down there at UCLA. He's just really fun. I understand people were like, listen, I think you could have found somebody else that could be a contributor down the road and something like that.
I get that.
But I don't know who else you would have taken that. I don't know. This is what I look at it. New England did this a long time with Tom Brady. They would draft rookie quarterbacks on rookie contracts and put them behind Tom Brady and his salary. I think that's what the Browns want to do. I think it's kind of peculiar that they gave all that money to Dobbs to turn around and draft DTR, because now you're potentially having to carry all three so that one of them can't get poached. And you give fully guaranteed money to Dobbs, so I don't see you cutting him. So it is kind of weird. I think the timing of it's kind of weird, but this dude's running ability is fun. He's wildly inaccurate at times, but he's got a big arm. So it's not like he can't throw it all. He can chuck the ball down the field, and his running ability can keep you in the game. I understand people that just thought, I just don't think you should have gone quarterback there. And I think a lot of people, if you think that, I think you're justified in that.
Sure.
But I think this dude is the kind of dude that he's the perfect. His skill set is a very good complement to Deshaun Watson in terms of him being the backup to Deshaun Watson. And I think this is just a situation where they said, let's look at the long-term future, a really cheap 5th round quarterback contract, put it behind Deshaun Watson, and you hope he never sees the field. You do. You literally hope he never sees the field. But if he does, I think you at least got a decent shot, because I think he can make things work, running ability. If he's got to start 3 games, he could probably win one of them for you. Okay. You know what I mean? You're like, man, we got to get through 3 games. If we can only grab one, I think you could with that. So he's a fun player, and I'm cool with it. I like the pick because I see the vision. But if you don't like the pick, I totally get it.
I do get it, and I think some people were surprised that the Browns took a quarterback, but
I was.
Okay. And to me, I think back to last year, and I think, both you and I have admitted on this show that we underestimated what it took to transition from the Jacoby Brissett offense to the Deshaun Watson offense, right? And with Dorian Thompson-Robinson, you are running the same offense as you are with Josh Dobbs, as you are with Deshaun Watson. And that type of consistency, we have seen the Ravens continue to win games with Tyler Huntley without Lamar Jackson for a lot of years now. And I think the Browns really value keeping the consistent offense. And on top of that, you've got 2 guys ahead of Dorian Thompson-Robinson. And you say, okay, this guy needs a ton of development. He needs work on his footwork. His accuracy is not great, but he's a tremendous athlete. Right. So if you have the amount of time to develop Dorian, maybe he can become that guy for you. I don't know what happens in the future with the Browns, but having the guy as your 3rd quarterback currently, probably 2nd quarterback moving forward, with the type of upside that the athlete Dorian Thompson-Robinson brings, is nothing to turn your nose up at. And so I understand. I understand why they would take him. And I don't think obviously it's not a pick that pays you dividends right now. I understand it, but it can in the future. And so I'm okay with that. I am okay with it. They definitely could have added a guy that could have helped them more this year. But when you only have Josh Dobbs on a 1-year deal, getting a quarterback with DTR's upside makes a ton of sense to me.
Yeah. And I think, we'll dive more deeply into these things as we go, because we're just trying to quickly go through everything here in an hour. I don't know. I get it. I think part of it was there was a run of quarterbacks happening when this happened.
Yeah.
There was quite a few picked in the 5th round before and after. So I think they were like, listen, this is our dude. We got to get this guy. And they're like, we're not going to mess around with that. So we're going to move to the second to last pick. We're going to move to a guy that I was actually a little bit surprised about. And that's Cameron Mitchell, the corner from Northwestern. I thought if the Browns, and I've been saying it on this show and my other shows and whatnot for quite a while, that I thought a defensive back, especially maybe would be like a safety nickel hybrid or like just a true nickel, that sort of thing. Cam Mitchell played most of his time at Northwestern on the outside, but he did have a role playing in the box and in the slot and kind of in situations like that. And he does have the size, the frame and skill set to play in the slot. And if I was a betting man, and we all know that I am, I would be willing to say that I think that Cam Mitchell is, that's what they want. I think they want to put him in the slot and go from there. He's best friends with Greg Newsome, and they talked about that the other day. So that was kind of cool to see that where Newsome and Mitchell used to play together in Northwestern. He's a little bit on the smaller size with weight. I'd like to see a little bit more size added, but he's another really athletic player. And I'm getting ready to watch some more of his tape. I've only watched very limited. I didn't do any work on him coming up to the draft because he wasn't the type of player I thought the Browns were going to take. And now now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, well, he actually does have some really nice inside snaps in the box and stuff. This dude likes to hit. Like, he will get physical in the run game from the box. Like, this dude, that's why I wish he was a little bit bigger, because he's kind of a physical player. But I think Cam Mitchell is the future in the slot, and I think he's got a really intriguing skill set. And from what little bit I've watched, he's a fun player.
I wasn't surprised the Browns drafted another corner, because I think that's been a strength that they've had drafting wise. And to me, Cameron Mitchell is the first, maybe not the first, but Cameron Mitchell is an example of saying, this is the best player available on our board, and we're going to take him. And they've clearly been able, with Emerson and Newsome, been able to identify corners that are talented. And I watched a lot of Cameron Mitchell play after the Browns drafted him, and he always seems to be competing at the catch point, which I really loved about him. He seems like a willing tackler, somebody that is physical and in your face. I love that about him. And I don't want to go down this road, because I do believe in Denzel Ward. However, I want to say that with his injury history, there's a variety of outcomes that can happen moving forward with him. And I think the Browns are continuing to build depth in the corner room, and that can never be a bad thing. So I'm really happy that they took him. I'm really happy that they are using best player available. And Cameron Mitchell seems like a guy that has upside. So great pick to me. I'm happy they did, and we'll see what he's got.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very excited. He's one of the ones I'm really excited to dive into the tape of, but it's going to be a couple of weeks before I really get into that, because I'm working on the the Cedric Tillman, and then I'll go through there and all this stuff. I'm so excited for these film rooms, guys. I'm mashing up some of these things, and if you want to join the channel, a membership, and for $2.99 a month, you'll get early access to these videos. They'll come out on Fridays for you. Everybody else will get it on Saturdays. But if you don't want to donate to the channel, then don't, because screw us. Who cares? Yeah. But anyway.
But your name would be special, like Drew just talked.
Yeah, Drew just talked.
And he's asking me, honestly, and so this is a good question. Am I making Denzel Ward exit announcements? No, I am not. I'm rooting for Denzel Ward to be a Cleveland Brown for the long term. However, I think we need to acknowledge his injury history, and I think we need to acknowledge that the Browns have Emerson and Newsome, who have both shown out well. So when we talk about Chubb a lot and his contract future, I think it's fair to talk about Denzel Ward, and I'm not sure where things go. I hope Denzel Ward is great next year, and that the Browns continue to have great play from him. But I think it's important to, if you have the opportunity to draft a guy like Cameron Mitchell and give yourself additional flexibility in the cornerback room, that's a good thing.
Yeah. I don't see how it's anything but a good thing. Like, man, damn it. The Yankees tied it up.
Did they? Oh, that's a shame. You know what? So true story. I walked into a bar since we drove down to Cincinnati last night in the driving rain, which I heard up in Cleveland we got snow yesterday. Today, which I mean is so Cleveland. But I drove down to Cincinnati in the just consistent rain all day. It was a stressful drive. We get here, we're like, okay, what can we do to chill out? So we go to a local bar. We go there, and the Guardians are on. They're down 2-0. Immediately, we tied it up 2-2 as we sat down in the bar and ordered our first drink. And then they went up and they won 3-2. I felt it was such a great tap to it.
Such a crazy ending last night. It was such a crazy ending.
Yeah, it was.
Right.
And that's the Guardian kids.
Yeah, for sure. We moved to the Browns' last pick in Luke Whippler, the center out of Ohio State, and then they went and signed Ronnie Hickman and the other safety from Ohio State. They're like, give me the Buckeyes. And as an Ohio State guy, I absolutely love it when we get it. Like Denzel Ward, I thought they were going to take Bradley Chubb that year, but when they took Denzel Ward, I was just like, oh, man, because I'm a little bit biased on that sort of things. But the thing about Luke Whippler, man, is he's just reliable. He doesn't let up sacks. He has good placement, plays with a good hand placement, plays with good pad level, and he just goes out there and he competes on every down. This is, why I would like. Oh, I like what Larry said over here in the comments. I want to pull this up.
What's Larry?
First, Mick said that he's a dummy because he didn't like Emerson. I was a little hesitant on it too because I didn't know who he was on draft night. I didn't know who he was on draft night. You can ask Nick. I was like, I need to go watch this stuff and figure out what's going on. But Larry said I would take a cornerback in every draft if I had a pick in every round. I like that, Larry. Yeah.
I do.
I think you should take at least a defensive back. Depends on where you want to go, but a defensive back every year in my mind.
I'm to the point. Take a defensive back. Take a wide receiver. Every draft, every year. Let's do it. I think it makes a ton of sense.
My editor over at Browns Wire says this. Good teams are greedy at wide receiver. He said that on our live stream. Good teams are greedy at wide receivers. But Luke Whippler, man, this is an easy case of them saying, hey, our backup centers, Michael Dunn is a guard center, but their backup centers and Nick Harris and Dawson Deaton are coming back from torn ACLs. I thought that was worrisome. I thought, well, why not spend a 6th or 7th round pick on a center? Well, they do. And they pick it on a center that by all accounts from everybody else's rankings, nobody understood why he was at 190. Yep. I'm trying to figure out why he's at not 190. But if Posick, for example, this was something else Corey Kinnan also said, he's like, what if Posick goes back to the mean? And by that, he means he struggled in Seattle.
Yep.
If he goes and starts playing like that Seattle version, you need to get out of it. What are you going to do? Well, now you got Whippler and you got Harris. I don't know if this means Nick Harris is gone. I predicted my 53-man roster. You can find that already over at Browns Wire, and I did cut Nick Harris, and I did keep Luke Whippler. So I did a post-draft if you want to go over there and that sort of thing. There's a good point. Russell even says because he's a center only. Yes, that's true. He doesn't play guard. Sure. And because of that, that does lower your versatility, that lowers your stock. But I think Whippler's a really nice player, and I don't think you could have gotten a better player at that round. Like with Ika, I thought there were better players on the board. I'm not sure there were better players on the board when Whippler went, and I'm pretty happy with the pick.
Yeah, you know what? I heard some talk about it, but it was never to the Browns. And you know what? Posick was one of the greatest surprises in football, I think, last year. Yeah. Nobody counted on it. When the Browns announced that signing, nobody was like, oh my God, Ethan Posick, he's going to be a great center for the Browns. Like like Jacob said, he struggled in Seattle and Posick ended up being really good. But we saw what happened when, because Nick Harris tears his ACL right at the beginning of the year. And then Posick goes down, and then the Browns' run game completely disintegrates, right? I think with Whippler, that's a guy that can help keep your run game, your blocking game afloat. And that's a huge gain with your last pick. I still don't like you, Jacob. I still don't have any answers for why he went where he did, but I'm not going to complain about it. And I
give
just
me a grade then.
Give you a grade?
Oh, we already did that.
We did do that. I love the fact that they so heavily emphasize the trenches. I love that, and on top of that, I think you're showing long-term thinking by taking Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and who knows? Honestly, like let us remember episode 103 of the Barking Brown Show, because if Dorian Thompson-Robinson ends up being our quarterback who we just picked in the 5th round and ends up being pretty good, I'd love to revisit this. It'll feel great. So shout out to you and I.
Please write down episode 102 because it's 102.
102, sorry.
Hey, I got a question for you. So if April showers bring Mayflowers, what do Mayflowers bring?
June. I got nothing.
Pilgrims.
Pilgrims?
Because they sailed over on the Mayflower.
That is amazing.
And with that,
there is, I just want to say, as we end episode 102 of the Barking Brown Show, we have noticed a significant spike in our live viewers. Thank you to everybody. We are working to make our memberships absolutely worth your time. Your support means the world to us. Jacob and I have also been putting off for about 3 weeks now our homage giveaway for our 100th episode. We're going to work on that. So this year, this week, we're gonna get back on track. We're gonna get back on track. We are going to do our homage giveaway for one of our YouTube subscribers because it means the world to us. So this has been episode 102. Amazing. Of the Barking Brown Show. Yeah. I'm Nick. He's Jacob. I pointed the right way this time. Yeah. Go Browns.
Elbow grease.
Elbow grease.